Are you excited to look at people and say, I'm your elder?
No, because it doesn't work in America. By the time we get old, like no one's gonna be like, oh, elder.
Well, I think like as
Like that concept is disappearing in Korea too. I mean, yeah, I guess not in Korea. In Korean American culture, I don't feel like we're gonna be like,
well, it's
how
fun.
dare you
It's
speak
funny
to me
because
that
like
way.
I think it's like a certain. I think it's like falling out like out of fashion with everybody. But like as a Southerner, like
Oh well, Southern people.
it definitely like I remember being in a Cracker Barrel in like North Carolina with my homeboy, and it's like anytime there's an older person around, you're all of a sudden like a little kid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's just like you're very respectful. You're like,
Ma'am, sir.
yes, ma'am, yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
And so I remember seeing older and older people interacting with older and older people to the effect that like the oldest lady got interacted with. So it was just like me and my homeboy dealing with like people were like in their 60s. And it was just like, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. And then the people in their 60s, and there was a lady in her 80s. So it was like little kids being respectful to us, and then us being respectful to them, and then the people who were legitimately in their 70s, 60s or 70s, dealing with the lady who was like obviously like in her 80s. And so all of us are now like, because when she came walking through to the bathroom, we were all like, zoop, we were in a line, we were out of the way. No one said it. A switch went off, and we were like, "Yes, how you do?" She's like, "How y'all doing?" We're like, "Man," you say, "How y'all good?" "Yes, ma'am." "How are you?" Me, my homeboy, and a 60-something-year-old couple. All of us said the exact same thing.
This is hysterical. My dad was talking to my uncle in Korea, and in Korea, they treat retirees very well. So they have these centers that are for elders. So it's like
The adult daycares.
the adult daycare. It's not even a daycare. It's like a government ran program where you just kind of go and you just hang out. So my dad was like, oh, like he was telling his older brother, he's in the 70s, late 70s. He was like, why don't you go to these centers, right? I heard they're great.
Oh no.
My uncle doesn't like going because he's like, every time I go, I have to do like errands for the older people. So what's happening is like he's there, but there's like 80, 90-year-olds. And in Korean culture, when you're young, you have to do everything. So he's like, I'm tired. I don't want to go and like run errands for people. So he doesn't like going. And I was like,
so you're still, it's like whenever you like, because I don't know, I'm not sure they have to do this in Korean culture. It's like with Black culture, you can't be like being in grown folks conversations, right? So like I remember as a kid being like, well, one day I'm going to be old enough to be in a grown folks conversation, and then you realize that your mom is always older than you, so you're never old enough, no matter how old you are, to be in her conversation. So it's just like no matter, because there was like this actor was talking about he was working with Dick Van Dyke, and Dick Van Dyke's like in his 90s.
he hasn't passed yet.
No, he's still here. Him and Julie Andrews and Carol Burnett, they're all still here.
I feel like Julie Andrews is younger than him though.
She's got to be, but not by much.
But Dick Van Dyke is like,
he's literally in his 90s.
good for him.
And so I think like Tom Holland maybe, done a project with Dick Van Dyke, and they're at Dick Van Dyke's house. And Dick Van Dyke's son, who's in his 70s, comes up to him and goes, "Dad, can we use the slide on the pool?" And he was like, he said, together they're 150 years old. He's like, but a dad and a son is always a dad and a son.
A dad is still your dad.
Your dad is still, and you're still a son. So he's coming up. Dad, can you use the slide on the pool? He's in his 70s.
Oh, that's so cute.
Solidly in his 70s.
That's so cute.
But it was still like, he was just like, he's like, yeah, go ahead. And he's like 90-something years old. Also, do you want to be in your 90s? I don't know if I want to live that long.
I think our generation will. I think we'll probably, it's like the equivalent of hitting our
83, 85.
No, I feel like with technology and like just things nowadays, no, I feel like we will probably live to 100.
Gross.
No, but if you think about
how long
it.
You have to work though. Think how long you have to work. People used to retire in their 60s because you died in your 70s.
I don't know. I feel
if you retire in your 60s and you don't die till you're 100, that's 40 years you're not
but
working.
We're going to have kids late. So I feel like we're going to want to stay a little bit.
Oh, yeah, because by the
time you punch out a kid, it's going to be like, that child is going to be, by the time we're 60.
Hopefully in college?
Hopefully in college.
Oh, that not to be successful.
Don't you want to see your grandchildren? At least one grandchild?
I mean.
This is stuff we don't think about.
Well, I do think about like what kind of, because like I want to be like a twerking grandma. But like, that's why I got to make sure that I stretch. You know what I mean?
You know what cracks me up? There's a meme where, Asian people, like black people, we just don't age, right? Or, so basically it's a
So
meme.
black don't crack, Asian don't raise them.
Right.
And
so
y'all do. And then y'all
well, that's the point. So there's a meme where it's like your teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. It's just like a really slender, beautiful Asian woman.
Yes.
And then when you hit 60, it becomes like ajumma, like straight up ajumma, like old grandma completely. And I thought about it, and it's kind of true.
My mother we asked her one day what she wanted the grandkids to, like. I was like, Mom, what do you want your grandkids to call you? She said, Miss Hill. And I was like, they're not employees.
Miss Hill. Oh my God.
Her name is Mary Hill.
I know, but like Miss Hill.
And we were like, how informal are you? Like, how formal are you with your grandchildren? And I was like, well, what? And she's like, well, what about Miss Mary? And I was like, that's
kind of weird.
That's nuts. And I was just like, what about Mumsy? Because I was like, so all the Kardashians, they call.
They all have, white people have little, I guess American people have nicknames for their grandmas.
So Chris's name is
Lovey.
And then Kim and them called their grandma
MJ.
Because she was like, I fucking refuse to be a grandma. But like a girl I was friends with, so she made her mother a grandmother when her mother was 41. Mm-hmm. Because they were all in their 20s when so her mom was in her 20s, she was in her 20s, so she had a baby in her 20s. And so, which is crazy because if her daughter has a kid, that would mean her mother would be a great grandmother and she'd be maybe 60.
It's just crazy.
It's crazy. And so they called her, she didn't want to be called grandma, so she's Gigi. Well, so there's like a Gigi and but the men don't seem to, because there's Papa and Papa and all this other stuff. Because there's Mima and Papa, which I think is just French. Yeah. But the whole Gigi thing, I'm just like, just be a grandma.
Well, this is why I think for me, growing up in the South, I would always be very confused because, in Korean culture, it's just always like halmoni. Like you're not like 할아버지 and halmoni. You're not like haha, and like people, like my friends would call their grandma Mima, and I'd be like, what? Well, that's just or Nana. Yeah,
Nana
Mima.
I can say there was a guy that I dated, this black dude, and he called his grandma grandmother, and I was like, I don't know what is on.
Yeah, because that's kind of like what Korean people do. So I would always be like, this is so weird.
Black people do not we're only rich people call their grandmother. That's insane.
I also thought we kind of talked about American Girl dolls last week, but American Girl, Samantha used to call her grandmother Grandmary.
What's her mother's name? Was it Mary?
I don't know. I don't remember. But I used to, again, as a child, I was like, this is weird.
I called my grandma. I got my grandpa.
Yeah.
But I heard like a mom, and pop. I like pop. Pop I can fuck with.
Pop, I feel like, But again, it's like, it's a very, like, in Asian culture, it's kind of weird.
Well, I never understood why dudes in New York would call their mom dukes. That I never got.
I've never heard that in my entire life.
Oh, you should talk to more black men from New York.
Mom dukes?
Mom dukes.
Not even like mama dukes. It's mom dukes.
Like, I was talking to mom dukes, and I was like, what is this? I've never wanted to ask because I don't want their Yankee explanation, because that means I'm talking to a New Yorker for an extended amount of time. But Mom Dukes, I don't know what we can Google. I don't know what it's from. I had a guy tell me that it was weird that I still call my mom mommy. I'm a girl.
People call people mommy still.
My brother doesn't call my mom mommy.
Mama. Well, I guess my southern friends, mama. Yeah, mama. And then we Koreans, 엄마. And then you call your mother-in-law 어머니. Yeah.